going to hand over to my colleague, Goitom Tegegn. He is the International Officer of Thomas More University in, well, what shall I say, Antwerp, Ghent, our southern neighbors. And then Abdullahi Ibrahim, our hub lead from Nigeria. They are going to bring us through this inauguration. I have heard that Dr. Eyasu is online, and I have also seen that Professor Mwania is online. They should have been here were it not for the visa process. So, oh, let to go here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Ibrahim and myself, we are ready for our opening dance, right? Great. Thank you so much. My name is Goitom. I'm here from Belgium currently, but originally I'm from Ethiopia. I served in Mekelle University for quite longer than a decade, and I am very much interested in this topic for a reason that I would mention later on, but I will first give the chance for Dr. Ibrahim to introduce himself.
Yeah, good evening. And my name is Ibrahim, and also privileged to be here. As Prof. Miriam introduced, I'm a core lead, a country lead in Nigeria. And I bet this session is going to be very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim. Great. Today, this morning, I have the chance to follow every panel. And it was interesting to hear Dr. Bernard saying, today is the most important day of the entire journey of Bodan and the entire family. And he added, where everything has come together. And I think for all those who have been part of this journey, it must be a very remarkable day. And then I would like to say congratulations on what you've achieved today. And we're soon going to, after our panel, also see the launch of a new African University network, which is also part of a huge achievement. So congratulations to everyone who has contributed to this. I work at Thomas More University, partly teaching and also partly taking the Global Engagement Office tasks at the International Office. We have had occasions where we have created platforms to bring Global South partners from Africa, Asia, and Latin America on a yearly basis to our international days and a workshop that we have dedicated to Global South. So today for me is partly, I feel like a guest because the topic is a little bit far from my profession, but I also feel really coming home because most of the faces I see here, we have been together in June and in March this year on various occasions. So that's really an interesting reunion for me. In this topic, I would love to mention one point before we proceed to what we are going to have from the panelists. This one thing is, I have been part of a journey in Mekelle University where we witnessed a rather huge leap and growth and transformation of an institution that started from very small military barrack under a tree, and in quite 3 decades has achieved significantly massive growth that is very much remarkable. And seeing that happening, it was always for me visible that it is the result of quite an interesting leadership and strategy approach plus international collaboration that most of the time brings about significant growth in universities. And it's always in my dream and ambition that African universities will get the chance to kind of witness the same growth and journey. And here we are joined by some really celebrated universities, esteemed institutions, but also some institutions which are at their beginning with regard to their journey. So without further ado, I will put the proceeding where we are going to have 2 videos. Unfortunately, we don't have everyone here present, but we have a couple of videos plus a presentation to be done online. We'll be starting from the Vice Chancellor of Tangaza University, who will be showing his video. We'll proceed with Dr. Eyasu of Mekelle University. He will also be on a video. We will put Professor Mpezamihigo and Dr. Ezekiel to have their say on a few questions, which will be also projected for the benefit of those who are online. And then later, we proceed with DVC of University of Nairobi, Professor Francis Jakim. And after that, my friend Ibrahim will take it to invite our sister Ilham from Sudan to share her story. That will lead to the launch of the African University Network today. So first, VC of Tangaza, Professor Patrick. Yes.
So, Dr. Eyasu, he's online.
Yep.
Maybe he can introduce this session as the president of the Africa University Network.
Yes,
I
most
think Abdullahi
definitely.
has. Can we bring him?
Dr. Eyasu, can you hear us?
Hello. I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you well. Maybe you will proceed with introducing the network as the president. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Goitom. Yeah, as Goitom says, I'm from Mekelle University, Ethiopia, and one of our most important secrets for success is our international networking and partnership. And I'm glad to be part of this great team that has actually initiated the establishment of this African University Network on Open Fair Science for a few years. And today is, I think, the first leap forward. So with that, I would like to make some remarks before I hand over the mic to the chairman. Excellency, Mr. President of the Pan-African Parliament, Fortune Charumbira, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of Liberia, Honorable Minister Julia Duncan Castle of Liberia, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Mahmoud Mpeza of Equator University of Science and Technology in Uganda, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Patrick Mwania of Tangaza University, Kenya, is also the interim Vice President of this African University Network, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Francisca Oladipo of Thomas Adewami University in Nigeria, Vice Chancellor Reverend Father Professor Dr. Arnold Hill of the University of Grand Bassa in Liberia, Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Zwobo of Great Zimbabwe University in Zimbabwe, Deputy Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Mulaa of the University of Nairobi, Kenya, Professor Noor, Director of Eastern College, Mogadishu, Somalia, Professor Dr. Henk Jan Guichelar, Dean of the Leiden University Medical Center, distinguished dignitaries, esteemed professors and colleagues, members of the diplomatic corps, dear participants. My name, as said, is Eyasu Hagos, and I'm the interim president of these founding members of the African University Network, and I'm the vice president of Mekelle University in Ethiopia. Mekelle University is one of the leading academic research innovation higher institutions in Africa, and our motto is "We really care." And we are very honored to be one of the founding members of this landmark network by Africans for Africa. Many leaders, scholars, researchers, scientists, and practitioners unanimously agree on the need of data ownership and harnessing the power of data for informed decision. Unfortunately, Africa is largely denied of this inherent right in its drive to improve the welfare and socio-economic development of its population and protect its environment. Africa is largely unable to forecast natural and man-made disasters, be it in health, conflict, weather, agriculture, locust, etc., nor is it able to prevent the devastating consequences of these calamities, all due to lack of data ownership and sovereignty. We have time and again witnessed how Africa's health data is siphoned to and owned by entities in the developed world, leaving us at their mercy for the treatment and vaccination of disease outbreaks. If Africa cannot own its health and other data, analyze it, interpret it, share it, and make use of it for designing informed policies, strategies, and interventions, the future of the continent is at risk in the face of climate change, competition, and continued natural and man-made disasters. In response to this reality, Tangaza University, Mekelle University, the University of Nairobi, Great Zimbabwe University, Equator University of Science and Technology, and Grand Bassa University, in collaboration with our key partners from Africa and the West, had been working for years on the establishment of the Africa University Network on Fair Open Science. The network embraces the critical necessity of securing and maintaining data sovereignty across Africa to unlock the immense value of data, drive economic and social progress, and ensure that wealth generated by data remains within Africa, contributing to regional development, innovation, and self-reliance. It also embraces FAIR principles, as it had been discussed all day today. ensuring data is findable, accessible, interpolable, reusable. And finally, it aims, among others, to ensure sovereignty of scientific data in Africa, strengthen academic research and innovation excellence, enhance reverse collaboration amongst African and international institutions, strengthen capacities at all levels, share knowledge on the federated learning techniques, strengthen community engagement and services, enhance inter-religious dialogue and academic diplomacy, strengthen respect for cultural and religious diversity, strengthen policies of inclusion across cultural, religious, and political divides, foster inclusive gender balance, and promote the dissemination of outcomes of fair open data search results. As this journey of hope starts today, I see many leading African universities across the globe, international agencies, corporates, and donors embracing the fair open science principle and joining the network for the good of the African people and our environment. I also see many African and world leaders, as well as public figures, patronizing and supporting our network for a bright social and economic development, welfare, and resilience of the people of Africa. I would like to use this opportunity to forward my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to my friends, Professor Miriam, VC Prof Mpeza, VC Prof Mwania, VC Prof Janis, Dr. Regiland, Joshua, Dr. Ada, and others who selflessly worked for this cause for years. Congratulations for your incredible achievement. I also would like to conclude my remarks by thanking Excellency Mr. President of the Pan-African Parliament, Fortune Karumbira, and Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of Liberia, for accepting our invitation to be the first patrons of the Africa University Network on Fair Open Science. We count on you, on your guidance and support. Last but not least, I would like to thank the organizers of the NIFIC KMT training and this Fair Data, Fair Africa conference for the wonderful planning and execution of the events. Let's all stand together for Fair Data, Fair Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eyasu, for your perfect timing and for the wonderful message. We will proceed to Professor Mwania now from Tangaza, and we have a video to watch at this point.
Honorable Chief Guest, President, Pan-African Parliament, His Excellency Chief Charumbira, Cabinet Minister Present, fellow Vice Chancellors, Directors and Managers, research community of students and practitioners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Reverend Professor Patrick Mwania, Vice Chancellor, Tangaza University in Nairobi, Kenya. It is exciting as we meet to launch the Africa University Network on Fair Open Science. The Tangaza University motto is teaching minds, touching hearts, and transforming lives. On May 2nd, 2024, the university was granted a full charter for its distinguished academic excellence, service orientation, and a commitment to social transformation by living to universally accept social values. The founders of Tangaza University in 1980s envisaged a university that prepares ethical servant leaders across Africa in an environment of freedom and responsibility by promoting quality education, research, and community service. This is the same aspirations of the Africa University Network on Fair Open Science. The Africa University Network on Fair Open Science strives to enhance capacities for all its members by ensuring that African academia is fundable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. As a university, we have been fortunate to collaborate with different health facilities under the auspices of the Ministry of Health in Kenya. We want to thank ICT technical persons and data stewards currently taking workshops run by SNOMED, modern researchers, and technical teams from Leiden University and Mekelle University. The trainees are currently held in at Tangaza University from Beacon of Hope Hospital, Motuini Hospital, Pumwani Hospital, Mathare North, and close friends from Strathmore University to appreciate different applications in data production and decide on best options. Thank you, Professor Miriam van Rijzen, for the coordination of all of us, the Leiden team, Kai, Christina, Dr. Aklilu, and others. Thank you, Professor Vice Chancellor Mpezamihigo of Equator University of Science and Technology, Uganda, Professor Vice President Eyasu of Mekelle University, my colleague VCs present here and following online for this great initiative of creating Africa University Network. We recall with great enthusiasm the introduction of Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. There was excitement because the previous Millennium Goals had failed to live to expectations. The developing nations across Africa gave a response called the African Promise. The aim was to live in the spirit of Sustainable Goal 17, where the international community would strive to create a better, fairer world by 2030. To achieve this promise required the international community to build a strong global partnership to end poverty. However, after the introduction of research on the COVID-19 virus outbreak, there was an immediate concern for these institutions present here in collaboration with us here at Tangaza University, Nairobi, Kenya. While developed nations could buy and control all vaccines to contain the spread of COVID-19, Africa could not compete with them. A critique on this negative situation was led by vice chancellors across Africa. Some of those are here present. Vice Chancellor Mpeza from Uganda, Vice President Professor Eyasu from Mekelle University, Vice Chancellor Professor Francisca from Nigeria, Professor Van Rijzen and Miriam, and many researchers who are seated here. They continued to make strong points on the importance of Africa taking lead in deciding on data production, localization, and ownership. This point was made even stronger when Northern Africa, in a joint conference organized by Pan-African Parliament and European Union in February 2022, made a resolution that future health data and data from all other disciplines produced in Africa should be controlled, owned, and localized at facilities that produced it. In another conference, the World Health Organization Secretary General made a strong point to the G7 virtual conference on June 2021, where he criticized the G7 countries for purchasing and owning all COVID-19 vaccines in the present and future. Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister of Britain, echoed some sentiments at this AU Leaders Conference by calling it vaccine apartheid. He noted the wealthiest nations were still controlling vaccine production, distribution rights, while third world countries were experiencing debilitating economic, social, and health association challenges caused by the aftermath of COVID-19 with almost zero aid. Ladies and gentlemen, data production has been called the new gold. Rudwan, a PhD researcher at Leiden University, has made this point in relation to how data generates billions of revenues as the new scramble for Africa. During his postgraduate master's defense, and even now in his research, he has done a lot to help other scholars to uncover the importance of data production, because without data development is curtailed. It is therefore my conviction, ladies and gentlemen, that creating Africa University Network is one of the surest ways to stamp our feet down and say there will be no more siphoning of important data from Africa, not just in health, but across all disciplines. This network will go a long way to strengthen and revitalize global partnership to support research in fair data science. While quality education is as the art of Africa and promise, we believe that equipping universities and institutions of higher learning with capacity to strengthen country-specific resource mobilization can be achieved through research in data production across Africa. The academic fair landscape opens up pathways for collaboration within African continent to promote African science and make it visible to current and upcoming researchers. Scholars and students of Tangaza University embrace this new initiative. We no longer just agree with the British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan on the famous theme, Winds of Change in 1960s, support of majority rule in Africa. We here at African University Network are saying that Africa is pushing for winds of change in data production to contain emerging viruses, malaria, TB, HIV, monkeypox, not to repeat past mistakes mentioned above. We do not support that African data is siphoned to research centers in the West to enable production of vaccine that will in turn be sold back to Africa at an exorbitant and unaffordable prices. The winds of change start today. Yes, it starts with us here at Africa University Network. Thank you all.
Your appreciations to Professor Mwania for that really reflective speech, which actually took us back a little bit into what has been done so far to get to this spot and how important this African University Network will be in our endeavors forward. It's time to invite Professor Mpezamihigo and Dr. Ezekiel to the stage so that we mix up a little bit of physical experience to this. And now we will put up 2 questions to our panelists on which they will reflect.
Sure. All right. Do we have Dr. Reginald to join?
Oh, superb.
Dr. Reginald Ngala. Please let's put our hands together for Honorable Julia. Honorable Julia, please join the leadership discussion, and Ilham. Interestingly, also, Goitom, it was very, very apt and right on point for us to have the leadership pointers and the leadership blessings of the President, Pan-African Parliament, and also another president, a former president of Liberia, Madam Helen Johnson Sirleaf. So it is very, very apt, and this crop of leaders that we have, it is also an opportunity for me and you to call forth vice chancellors, presidents, and presidents and presidents. Please let's put our hands together for the leadership as they take their seats and the questions. Over to you, Goitom.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Great. We have, in essence, 2 things that we want to discuss. For some of the institutions here, they have been part of the journey of VODAN as a network, and it has been tangible work in their systems. For some institutions, they are part of this founding establishment. So we wanted to put up 2 questions that would address both. The first question being, what role does leadership play in expanding fair science practices across new regions and institutions? You can tap into previous experience and examples in institutional success stories, but would like to get enlightened about this question. You can always look back and have the question quite clearly. We can start with you, Professor Mpeza.
All right, let me support here.
Thank you very much, Goitom and the co-MC and my colleagues, the panelists. When you have Goitom to moderate, you have to be ready to answer a few questions, even when he has not alerted you in good time what type of questions. So I think it's part of the management of data. So I am Mpezamihigo Muhammad. I'm the Vice Chancellor, Equator, University of Science and Technology, and also one of the founding institutions for this great Africa University network on fair open science. It's always important to have a leadership in whatever projects, whatever engagements we do. Leaders they are the vision bearers. So if we have at our level vice chancellors and presidents of our institutions taking charge and having within their DNA, the responsibility to also engage more people, I think for me this is critical, and we've seen this with the Modern Africa model, where we did not really have opportunities to interact one-on-one, but we were able to, by use of technology, where we remained in touch and we were able to deliver a product. And today, what we see is just the beginning, because the network intends to provide an umbrella leadership where we will be able to create opportunities under GAIC. We will create opportunities under Modern Africa. We will also create more opportunities with many more projects with other partners. So this is my take as for now, Goitom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mpeza. Dr. Ezekiel.
Thank you, Goitom. So I'll just add to what my colleague has said. Dr. Meche is my name. I'm representing the DVC, University of Nairobi, I think is online. So as my colleague has said, for any successful program or any successful venture, we must have support from the top management. So we can plan what we can do, but when it comes to policies, the readers, they are the people who give the policies. Yeah, so mine is to say that leadership gives vision for whatever is done. Leadership gives like pressings for end program. Readers need to be engaged in end program because like if you look at our governments, where we come from, we must have always support from the top management for end success events. When we talk about resources, there's no way we can unlock resources because at one point maybe there's that aspect of institutions trying to give support. So if there's not that support from the above management or the top management, then the resources cannot be available for whatever we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ezekiel. I would actually hope the next speaker will capitalize on.
All right, just a small interlude. And to make it so interesting, just as Ezekiel said, it will be most appropriate also to balance up the leadership. As I introduce Professor Janice Bosengwe to join the team. Please, let's put our hands together for her. Thank you, Goitom.
For me, leadership is about influencing, and within networking, it's about relying on each other, building bridges, removing barriers, learning from each other, and capitalizing on experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there are two words we normally talk about in our meetings, and that is leadership is about trust and honesty. Thank you. I wanted to check, Professor Mwania wanted to say a word also from the screen.
Let me just say that leadership is about creativity, having a vision, For those of you who know Professor Mariam like I do, every day she wants to save the whole world. But we have to provide her with some leadership to say, no, let's be focused and let's take it one day at a time. But all day her mind is running like clock. But to see how far Goitom has come, it had to be the leadership that was provided and the board members to all, because we all shared the same vision and we all wanted to see a change, especially promoting science and data in Africa. So that's what leadership is all about, somebody who goes after their dream. You dream about something, you build on it, you get people of like minds to join you. And that's what she has done. And that's why Goitom is here today. Thank you.
Awesome.
I think on leadership, I would say it's really working with humanity and making sure that we provide a better world for each other and recognizing the humaneness in each of us, that you can't lead and you're leading animals, you're leading objects, but to understand that these are people who have minds of their own, who have problems of their own, who have a humanity or who have a world, and it is allowing them to name that world and to exist in the world and also recognize their own world and therefore help them in that space. For me, that's what it would mean.
Awesome. So Goitom, flip. Let's see what's the new one we have. So
we have our contributors online. We're trying to be as agile as possible. This is very, yeah. So we have this question on which Dr. Eyasu and perhaps DVC Dr. Francis can reflect on. We'll give the chance to Dr. Eyasu first to say a little bit on that.
Thank you, Goitom. And thank you, speakers on the floor, for representing us, the African University Nairobi, on this grand event. For me, when we are talking about leadership, actually there are various leadership entities that can influence our network and beyond, including academic leadership, political leadership, religious leadership, community leadership, business leadership, what have you. But we are academicians, so let me talk about what academic leaderships could do actually in this regard. I think the first thing for me is to create an enabling environment for our staff, for academicians, for our researchers, and actually for our partners to be able to work together to solve African problems, to solve actually the society's problems. The second is to lend our skill and knowledge to those who need it, whether they are governments, they are NGOs or communities or any other entities that need actually our service. I think we should be able to lend them our skill and knowledge. And the second is, as much as possible, of course, we are not income generation entities, but as much as possible to also allocate our resources for the betterment of actually our communities and our institutions. And the fourth is building the capacity of future leaders, the capacity of future politicians, the capacity of future researchers, future scientists. By doing so, we can shape actually our world, we can shape our Africa. Last but not least is to use our power in dissemination and influencing. We should disseminate whatever results we have at hand, and we should influence the policies, the strategies, the plans of actually whether health systems, agriculture systems, or technologies across Africa and beyond. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Eyasu. That was a critical addition. We'll provide two chances, one to Professor Francis and another one to Professor Mwania for addition. Professor Francis? Sorry. We also have Professor Francis online. Oh, he was there when we started. Okay, we can give the mic to whoever is readily available. We cannot see them. That's one of the reasons for those of you online.
Yes, good afternoon, Professor Mwania here, Tangaza University. Thank you. It's exciting to follow this launching of the Africa Universities network from afar, but I'm very much with you. Just to add a word to what has been said about the role of leadership in enhancing research and networking. I think as it has been said, leadership, of course, is very critical, and good leadership for that matter. Good leadership that enables the environment, the right environment for research and data development to take place. So I think I would only wish that that leadership will also be provided in our new network that we are launching today, because leadership, as we know, at all levels is very important. And I guess leadership in our institutions, where the main work is going to happen, will be very critical in furthering the vision and the agenda of African Universities Network. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that addition. Great. I don't think we have Professor Francis online anymore, so maybe we'll proceed to our second question. Sorry. Oh, no. Oh.
Same person?
No.
Okay.
We're referring to Professor Francis from University of Nairobi, but he doesn't seem to be online. That's what I'm referring to. So yeah, we can proceed to our second question. No worries.
All right.
Great. I will also read out the second question. It's always important to foresee what challenges have been encountered, perhaps for those who have been proactive during the Vodun network activities, to see new entries into African University Network. What should they expect as a challenge, and what lessons have the Vodun family and the recent institutions have taken to say, okay, this is how we're going to go forward, but these were some of the challenges that we faced. It would be an important information for everyone to know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. As mentioned, the whole concept of fair, moving from being an abstract terminology, and others actually using it like in weights and scales, being fair and just, you know. People applied so many definitions for this fairness. And so from that perspective, to this extent where you see close to, well, in terms of Vodun, close to 6, 7, or 9 PhDs, and each PhD really seems to have its own pillar, although related to the other, and trying to expand the horizon in terms of verification and the principles. So one of the key initial challenges we were faced with was this animal called FAIR, which first of all didn't seem to make a lot of immediate sense, to the extent where the concept of ownership became so clear, and the way the data is accessed and who retains and who regulates what. And then the second one was the capacity. So we have computer scientists who have been training, we have data scientists who have trained over decades, but who did not necessarily have a conversion point of understanding that it doesn't matter wherever data is. If we verify it, then we are in a position to ensure that there's communication, and we can also do the analytics and make sense out of this data, but not only just for purposes of academic growth and publications, but in terms of creating, feasible interventions as driven and guided by the data itself, having gone through all these processes. So this is really something, the two issues that I think I can highlight. And because I don't want to be selfish, I'll leave the other answer to my colleagues.
Yeah, Chairman, with your permission. So I stay here just as you talk about scale. And so we're putting it in a pulley, and these are the fulcrums of balance. This question is most importantly going to be hit by the leader of leaders of the country hubs. I would like Dr. Reginald to follow up with the response. And what were the key lessons learned?
Very true, because when Put was making his presentation, I was already reflecting on compliance, regulation, and agreements. So it leads us back to the GDPR, how different countries where we come from are applying that. The second one is always like in Kenya, when you go to the Ministry of Health, they say, what about data privacy? And that's a very key question to answer. And because we are trying to build this prototype that can help different ministries of health, then I say, what about if we brought in getutization, and then testification, then pututization? Perhaps our data stewards are going to give us a proper way of dealing with GDPR within our own health facilities. And this is a challenge across all countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to move to Prof. Yanis also to speak about the lessons learned. I remember when so many countries were pulling strings about ownership. I remember, because we operate as a team, I think KAU was very critical about it, quoting different country laws and so as to respect the laws of the land, and with your expertise also. So what do you think in that perspective? Thank you.
Thank you. The biggest challenge, I think one of the biggest challenges was bringing different people from different countries, different disciplines together and harmonizing that relationship and helping them or coordinating them in a way that allows them to deliver on the task and focus on what fair actually means, and to detach them from their context. Sometimes it's not very easy to detach a person from their context, that you bring this context with you. So if you're coming from a conflicting zone, you're going to come with that. If you're coming from a place that has what I don't want to name it as corruption, but it is what it is. You come with that, and when you come with all these and you put them in one pot, it takes great leadership to be able to navigate that and manage that. And I think we have managed to navigate that, and now we are focusing on going forward and saying, where do we take this now? Because we can't let it rest here. And then we say, okay, can we network? Because we have learned from the challenges that we had, and we have picked those lessons, and we believe that the coordination level that we have reached at now can lead us to even a bigger space to say, now can we go global? That we no longer talk about just Africa, but we are extending to Asia, that the lessons we learned can actually extend there. So for me, it is bringing those different mindsets, contexts, and everybody bringing that into the pot and having the able leadership to manage that. And I think our leadership really managed to do that. Thank you.
Great. We're assuming this has been partly a response from those who have been pretty much active during the vote.
Part of the challenges is dealing with your local politics, politicians, Minister of Health. You have the international NGOs, the local NGOs, who owns the data. So that's when politics comes in, and you try to tell them this is time that we manage it. Especially coming from Liberia, we learn from the Ebola. And so those data that's been collected now, this framework that's been put together, is to give ownership back to the locals, to the country itself, to own that data. So politics has a lot in dealing with the lawmakers and dealing with the ministers of the various ministries of health and civil society. So that's when leadership comes in. How do you balance it so that everybody can benefit for the sake of the country?
Interesting thing. At the benefit of time, I'm going to actually proceed to hand over the mic to Ibrahim to lead to the further question, which will tap into what lessons have been taken with regard to doing what Vodan has been doing during crisis and conflict, and how can be that useful in existing, or unfortunately there will be some, but future conflicts as well. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Goitom. And the question is going to focus more on sharing experiences from the critical times we face throughout the Vodan journey. You remember how critical it was for Putu, for Gitu and Tesfit. So we get happy when we see them online and whenever we see them talk to us. So the same kind of situation can be explained further by Dr. Ilham Ibrahim. So thank you.
I'm not a doctor.
You can come to the podium.
Yeah, I'm using the big phone, so my so my name is Ilham Ibrahim from the Sudanese Organization for Research and Development. And I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about the crisis in Sudan. This ongoing conflict has really wrought disastrous consequences for women, men, and children in Sudan. And currently, and according to UN estimates, more than 25.6 million people, which is over 50% of the total population, are now facing acute hunger, with 10.7 million individuals currently displaced their homes, including myself. The scale of this crisis is truly disastrous. Sudan health system has been collapsed almost in all affected states, and Sudan is divided into 18 states. Now the conflict is running on 13 out of 18, including the capital state, Khartoum. The damage also affected and damaged on critical other infrastructure, including telecommunication, bridges, roads, schools, universities, museums, and everything. So the very foundation of our nation is being eroded by this conflict now. Yet, despite these circumstances, we remain steadfast in our pursuit for lasting and just peace in Sudan. A peace that cannot be achieved under exclusion, deprivation of rights, and poverty and underdevelopment. True peace depends on inclusion, equity, and the opportunity for all Sudanese citizens to survive. In this context, the Africa University Network on Fair Open Science represents a vital opportunity for us in Sudan by fostering collaboration between African universities and academic institutions with their global counterparts. This network can promote and sharing knowledge and data, enabling more effective responses to the complex challenges we are facing in Sudan through FAIR principles. This network can support Sudan academic and research communities, helping them to rebuild and strengthen their capacities. Academic diplomacy, a key element of this initiative, can also play a transformative role by creating channels for dialogue, collaboration, and mutual understanding between academic institutions across borders. By leveraging these partnerships, we can advance research, innovation, and education, ultimately contributing to peace and development in Sudan. We take great pride of our DISH project, Digital Innovation Skills Hub project, which has served as a beacon of hope amid these challenges. Through this initiative, we established a model of genuine partnership between academic institutions in Europe and Africa, alongside with civil society organizations, governmental bodies, and local communities. This collaboration provided 4,000 young women and men in Sudan with the chance to connect, acquire skills, gain knowledge, and establish links with job markets, laying the groundwork for a future and a brighter future. We are equally inspired by the resilience and experience of our colleagues, brothers, and sisters in Tigray region. Their journey offers valuable lessons from which we can draw strengths. I'm confident that we can build on this experience and continue to work with younger generation in Sudan, empowering them with access to information, knowledge, and opportunities. By amplifying their voices and enhancing their capacities, we can collectively contribute in building and rebuilding our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much.